the parents and the sophomore things coming tonight. It's going to be a very worthwhile program. We're so happy you come. I just want to take a minute to introduce the college guidance staff. I'm Rachel Maycock, Rose Weinstein, Rabbi Rosenblum, who I think is still outside. Michelle Blue-Levy is on maternity leave at the moment. And Sarah Bacon, the associate principal, who oversees the college guidance department. So thank you to the whole department and to Bacon for all the help with planning tonight's program. So the first part of the evening, we're going to be hearing from Crystal Bates, who is an admissions senior associate director in the admissions office at NYU. And she's going to be giving an overview of what goes into the college application, as well as tips and advice for things you could be doing now as a sophomore to be in the best position when it comes time to apply. And the second half is going to be about testing. So Akil Bello from Princeton Review will be speaking about the ACT and the SAT, the differences between the two tests, how to determine which is the best test for you. And everyone should have their scores with them now for the PSAT and the Practice ACT that you took earlier this year. So we hope that this event tonight will guide you and provide the insight you need in order to understand your scores and how to navigate the whole world of standardized testing. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me tonight.
Thanks so much. So I hear that you all are preparing for a very important test tomorrow, right? There's a test happening? Or did they make this? Yes? It's Thursday? Oh, well then I can just go on and on all night long. But I won't do that. I won't do that. In the interest of time, and because I know Neil is here with some really great information, I won't take up a ton of your time, but I did want to talk to you all a little bit about kind of what you can be doing now as sophomores to think about and prepare for the college application process. I know you all are already getting so much great advising from the college counseling team here. So everything that I'm telling you is going to be just old hat, right? Because these are things you probably have been talking about with your teachers, with your counselors, even if just peripherally, right? So there are a couple of things that you can be doing now as sophomores to get ready, especially as you segue into your junior year. So there's 6 major points, right? And these are things you probably already know. You're going to challenge yourselves academically. You're going to get great grades. You're going to read a ton. You're going to seek out opportunities for academic enrichment and support, and that's really just a fancy phrase for do stuff in the summer, right? That makes you feel good, that enriches you academically. You're going to participate in activities that you enjoy, and you're going to explore colleges and universities. These are all things that you can be doing now to get ready for the admissions process, and we'll talk about why. So here's a nice list. I won't say that it's a comprehensive list, but it's pretty comprehensive of things and factors that college admissions committees consider when they are reviewing your applications, right? So you've got a lot of stuff here. You've got high school transcript, extracurricular activities, short answer responses, the personal essay that lots of you students will dread, right? Your teacher and counselor recommendations, school supplements, test scores that Akil is going to talk a lot about, geographic diversity, skills, talents, legacy, interview, demonstrated interest, and our audition or portfolio if you're thinking about fine arts programs. So all of these things are important in one way or another in the college admissions process. I've been at NYU for 11 years now, and I've worked during my time at NYU exclusively in admissions and enrollment management. And so I've spent a lot of time reviewing lots and lots of applications and considering many of these components. So what I'll do is just talk a little bit about why each thing matters to us and what you can be doing now to boost a particular component or to sort of boost your candidacy when it comes time for you to apply. So your high school transcript, you all already know why that's so important for us. High schools want to see that Not only that you've gotten great grades in high school, but we want to see that you've challenged yourself, right? So we want to see that you've taken tough courses, honors classes, AP classes, the IB program, if you're taking college classes in the summer. Those are the kinds of things we want to see. We also want to see that you're taking 3 to 4 years of study or engaged in 3 to 4 years of study within every core area, right? So math, science, English, history, language, right? We want to see that kind of work. Colleges want to be sure that you can handle the academic rigor on their campuses. So they're going to want to see students that have consistently done well in their classes and have consistently challenged themselves. Extracurricular activities are super important for us. Really for me, and I think this is so important at really larger institutions, because we need to understand the kinds of impact that you're making outside of the classroom, because students who are excited about making an impact are generally students that will connect better with students, find their micro-communities more quickly on campus, and just acclimate to being on a college campus a little more quickly and a little better than, say, another student would. So colleges are looking for students who are able to connect. We're also thinking about how the activities that you're involved in now, how you might kind of bring some of your skills and talents to our campus. How are you going to enrich our campus community? I think the short answer responses and the personal essay kind of go hand in hand. Really, the written components of the application are going to be super important for you, because lots of colleges won't offer interviews, and if they do offer interviews, I shouldn't say that, NYU doesn't, so I shouldn't say lots of colleges. Some colleges don't offer interviews, NYU does not. And so we really rely on the short answer responses and the personal statements to sort of get a glimpse into who you are, what you're about, where you come from, what's important to you. Maybe there are aspects of your identity that are really important that you want to share. Maybe there's an experience that you've gone through with your family and you want to talk about how your mom and dad and sisters and brothers have come through that experience together. Maybe there's a favorite song that sort of drives you. Maybe there was an experience you had with your best friend and y'all were fighting. You had this epiphany and now you're not fighting anymore. Whatever it is, colleges and universities are looking to figure out sort of what makes you you. So a good rule of thumb that I share with students is that whatever it is you write about in your essays, especially the personal statement, which was generally about 500 words or so, between 500 and 600 words, whatever you talk about there, whatever you share there, we shouldn't be able to find that information anywhere else in the application. So what your personal statement shouldn't be is sort of a laundry list of all your awesomeness, right? Let me tell you how awesome I am. President, vice president, started a business, started some clubs, I help the kids, I help my parents, right? I'm just generally awesome. Right? I mean, yes, we know all those things, right? Because we've seen them in the application. Your teachers and your counselors have talked about it, and we know that stuff. Talk about something that is more central to who you are and what you're about. So maybe you do want to talk about being president of an organization, but you want to talk about a moment that really helped you to develop your leadership style. When you recognize sort of what you needed to do to be an effective leader because you were dealing with a faction in the club that wanted to do something and you didn't think it was a good idea, so you had to exercise some of those leadership qualities, right, and those skills. So that's why the personal statement and the short answers are so, I think they're such a special part of the application, because that's really the only place that we get to hear your voice. Elsewhere in the application, you're just kind of regurgitating to us demographic information, your name, where you live, high school, your counselor's name, their phone numbers, your parents' names, what they do, their information, your brothers and sisters' names. But the essays are really the only place where we get to hear your voice, so that's why they're so important. Your teacher and counselor recommendations sort of function in the same way, right? We need to hear from people that know you far better than we ever will, unfortunately, right? So we need to hear from your teachers who are going to talk about your intellectual contributions to the classroom. Are you always raising your hand? Be smiling because he's always raising his hand. He's always got the answer. He's like, right? Are you the kind of person that will help out a classmate that's having a tough time, right, with the concept? Are you going to lean over and try to help her out? Right? Are you the kind of person that, when confronted with a really complex idea, are you going to run away screaming and just run out of the room? What is this? I can't take it. Are you going to really sit there and try to wrap your brain around it? Right? Colleges want to understand what you add to the learning environment. So that's why the teacher recommendations are so important. So start developing great relationships with your teachers. Right? Because you might need to ask him or her for a recommendation down the line. And sometimes the best recommendations don't always come from people that maybe we've got the A+ in the class in, right? Maybe the best recommendation might come from that professor in whose class you earned a B+. But you worked hard for that B+. You worked hard, you studied hard, you stayed after school, you got extra help, you worked with the teacher, you really, really worked hard for that B+. That tells a better story to an admissions committee sometimes than earning sort of easier A in a class that you love, right? Sometimes colleges and universities will ask for a separate essay or short answer response that asks you specifically why you think you might be a good fit for a school. So we call it the Why NYU question. And these are really important pieces of the application because we want to know that you've done your homework. We want to know that you're really into us. And we want to know why you think we're special, right? So this is a great time to include really specific information about a college or university that you're thinking about. So sometimes students will give us what I think are these very generic responses. I want to go to NYU because it's in the city, it's urban, it's in the city. It's so urban, so many people, so many things to study, right? So if I were to put my finger over NYU in that essay, right, I could plug in any college or university, right, in the country that was urban and big, and right? So you want to make it really specific to your school. Standardized test scores, we need them. They're not going anywhere. Standardized tests, they're a thing. Akil will talk about it. I probably shouldn't sound so sad when I talk about standardized tests. But they're a thing you have to do, and they're real. So geographic diversity. So depending on the schools and colleges that you're applying to, lots of schools and colleges are looking for different kinds of students. And so when you hear the buzzword diversity, a lot of people think about race and ethnicity, right? Because those are the kind of the general things we think about. But depending on the colleges and universities that you're applying to, they might also be thinking about socioeconomic diversity. They might be thinking about geographic diversity. If somebody's coming from North or South Dakota and they're applying to NYU, we're all over that. We're all over. Don't go changing your address and trying to do fancy things now, right? But certain kinds of diversity, right, will be important to the college admissions process. Maybe you're interested in studying classics, right? Classics is an underrepresented major at NYU. So when we see folks that are interested in that area, we get really excited. Don't everybody change your major to classics either, right? So different kinds of diversity will be really important to some admissions committees' decision making. Special skills and talents. Some of you are business persons. Some of you are filmmakers. Some of you are really into social justice, social activism. There are causes that you care about. We want to know about that, right? So when you're applying to college, that is not the time to be shy or bashful or modest. Oh, I just do a few things in the school. No, it's time to really showcase everything that makes you special, everything that makes you exciting, because this is what we're looking for. Legacy. Legacy is going to be different, I think, at some colleges or universities. At least that's what I have learned throughout my career. At NYU, when we think about legacy, we're talking about your immediate family, right? Brother, sister, mom, really mom, dad, but brother and sister can be cool. Not your auntie that over in LA who had the friend that came to the thing that one time and you kind of know her. She said she would gift, right? It's really got to be immediate family. So sorts of situations. This can sometimes impact an admissions committee. It won't make or break an admissions decision, but it can add a little something to your candidacy. We've talked about why the interview is so important. Some of you are just great in person. You're great. You got good energy, good charisma. You express yourself really well. An interview could be a great option for you. Some of you, though, may not be so great in an interview, right? Your college counseling team will help coach you and get you where you need to be if that's the case. But if you don't feel like an interview will best sort of showcase who you are, don't opt in. Well, maybe I'm giving you bad. I won't contradict the advice that you're giving about interviews. I'll stop. Just do what they tell you to do. Demonstrated interest. So colleges want to know that you're into them, right? So we want to know that you've come to a college fair and hung out with us, that you maybe visited campus, maybe you've come to some of our off-campus events. But know that colleges won't penalize you if you haven't been able to travel and visit extensively, but it's something to pay attention to. So, sophomore year, we already know what we should be doing, right? Continuing to do well in a college prep curriculum, to the register for, to take the PSAT or the SAT or the ACT. Continue your extracurricular involvement. If you're not involved in any activities now's the time to get involved. Thank you so much. Thank you. So supportive here.
Also, and there are some seats. I'm so happy that it's like almost SRO with all your time. Please, you see here. A couple seats here, here, so
If you have not begun to be involved in any extracurricular activities, it's the time to do it. So sophomore year is almost over for you all, right? So you're going to be moving into junior year. Start getting involved in some things if you haven't, because colleges really want to see that. And do things you care about and that you like, right? Don't join a robotics club if you're not into robotics. Do stuff you like to do. That'll make your experience more fulfilling. You'll have a better time at it. And colleges will be able to see real, authentic displays of passion and true love. Attend college fairs. Go to university websites, social media. We spend a lot of money on social media stuff. We do. Because we know that that's how we can connect with you in a meaningful way. We hire people, very hip, cool young people whose sole job is to go on to Twitter and Instagram and the other things, the Snapchats that you all use, and they create profiles for us and they manage those accounts. So use a school social media presence. That is sometimes where you can get a sort of real and student-centered look into kind of what your experience could be like there. So I'm all over the social media piece. And then continue to build a relationship with your high school counselor and your teachers. This is just a quick overview of what you can be doing for your junior year. You're really building on those skills and some of the work you should have been doing last year. A lot of the stuff you are now familiar with and know. Senior year, this is when you'll really start to ask teachers for letters of recommendation. You'll meet your college reps. You'll finalize your college list. You'll do all your financial aid paperwork on time. And then that's really it. That's really it. That was a quick thing. So we'll be out here around the transition later if you have any. Thanks so much and good luck.
All right, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is. Let me just flip this. Sure, we'll start there. My name is Akil Bello. I am currently the Director of Equity and Access to Princeton Review, which is just a fancy title that means I know stuff about tests. I've taught every admissions test you've probably ever heard of. Started doing this in 1990, so if you have questions about these tests, now's the time to ask. I like interruptions, so if I say something and you want to interrupt me, that's cool. So let's roll. So first let's talk about the scores that you're holding in your hands. All right, you should have PSAT scores, you should have ACT scores. Let's start some quick questions. What's the highest SAT score? 1600. What's the lowest? Yeah. No one knows. No one knows. I love that always in these groups, people are confused about the lowest score, which actually totally makes sense. No one investigates what's the lowest I could possibly get. And you probably shouldn't investigate that. Alright, so the PSAT, the SAT, the ACT, all of these are tests you should know about. What other tests are going to come up in this process? What other tests should you be thinking about? SAT-2s, no longer called SAT-2s. You're pretending you're older than you are. SAT subject tests, they renamed them. For those of you who are my age, they used to call them SAT, they used to call them achievement tests. So the achievement test became the SAT-2s, which became the SAT subject test. They're all the same thing. Alright? So you might want to know about subject tests. Alright? NYU will accept 3 subject tests in lieu of an SAT or an ACT. Okay? Other colleges will require subject tests in addition to an SAT or an ACT. Alright? So you have to think about kind of what the policies are. Different schools have different policies.
Doesn't matter which.
It doesn't matter which what?
Which subject SAT.
It depends on the school. Some schools will have policies, NYU, no? You take whatever ones you
Well,
want.
we do have humanities, math, science, one of your.
They're probably not going to let you get away with, language, right? They probably ask for a little bit more than that. So as you're going through this process, you try to put all of this in context and gather all this information. As 10th graders, you're in a perfect position. Now's the time to gather information, right? Do the college office a favor. Do not show up in this time next year knowing nothing about this process. Right? Go to all of these things, do all your research now. The more information you have, the easier it is for the college office to advise you well. Right? So you want to make sure you're doing the research as much as possible. So the lowest SAT score is actually a 400, not 200. All right? And the highest possible ACT score? 36. Right? The ACT scored from 1 to 36 in each of 4 sections, and then it's average. All right? So the PSAT reports you have in front of you, right? How many people have looked at the online report for the PSAT? Okay, not enough. The online report's actually pretty cool. You can get all the questions from the test by using the online report. All right? So you have this, you have the access code. If you can't figure out how to get into your online account, definitely use your PSAT reports. Some of the highlights from the PSAT report, all right? Colleges care about this top line. Pretty much nothing after that will colleges care about. All right? They care about what you got in English. They care about what you got in math. All right? Each subsection, English and math, what's the score range?
760 to 800.
200 to 800. At close-ish. PSAT is, somebody gave me SAT. PSAT is slightly different. They knock the scoring down just a tidbit. I'll show you in a second a little bit clearer. But, actually it says it right there, right? 160 to 760. So they took 40 points off because the PSAT is slightly easier than the SAT. So they chose the scoring to reflect that the PSAT is slightly shorter and slightly easier than the SAT. So the SAT goes from 200 to 800 in each section. The PSAT goes from 160 to 760 in each section. All right? So section scores, and then you add it up for the total score is what they're doing with the PSAT score. All right? And then they give you this benchmark, which means not a whole lot. It's supposed to be a college-ready benchmark. Anybody know what the benchmarks mean? It's a
Average, maybe?
nope. The benchmark is a statistical prediction, right? If you hit the college-ready benchmark, it means you have a 75% chance 75% chance of getting a C or better in a corresponding college level class. So hitting the college ready benchmark in math means that what College Board has seen in their research is someone who gets above a 510 on the PSAT has a 75% chance or better of getting a B in a college level first year math class. Right? Now, that doesn't mean you can't. It also means you have a 50% chance of getting a C. So don't take the benchmark to mean, oh my God, if I don't get this, life is over. Right? It's a prediction of what commonly happens. All right? Colleges aren't looking at that. Colleges aren't really looking at the percentiles either. All right? So they give you percentiles, which compares you to the national sample, which gives you some perspective of how you did versus other kids your grade. All right? All of this stuff is useful for you, and colleges don't care and will never see it, not from your PSAT, not from your SAT. All right? All of the sub-scores are breaking down individual question types that you've done. I love the categories. There's Heart of Darkness, there's whatever else they have there. Passport to Advanced Math, because we all took the Passport to Advanced Math class, right? All right, fine, Heart of Algebra, whatever they want to call it. It means as little, right? So what does Heart of Algebra mean to you? If your Heart of Algebra is terrible, what do you do? Right, study the heart of algebra. I don't know what the heart of algebra is. Kind of, right? But where does basic begin and end, right? So the subcategories are kind of useful if you do research, right? Figure out what this means, where I'm doing well, where I'm doing not, and where I can improve. Colleges won't look at this. You don't have to worry about that. Colleges won't look at, they might. Some colleges might dig down into test scores, but very few. Right? Most of this second page, colleges don't care about. All right? So that's more for you than anything else. And then the cross-test scores are the stupidest thing in creation. All right? Like no one should actually pay attention to cross-test scores. Here's what it is. Analysis in science. Remember those PSAT questions you saw that were science-y? Even the ones in writing and in reading? Those all contribute to the analysis in science score. If a math question says kilometers, that's part of the analysis in science score. How stupid is that? All right, if it's about something history-ish, that math question becomes analysis in history. Right? No one cares about the cross-test scores. Ignore them, it doesn't mean anything. All right, other thing that might matter for your PSAT report is the National Merit Index. None of you, all of you will have asterisks because none of you qualify for the National Merit Scholarship. What is the National Merit Scholarship? Nope, not quite. Anyone know?
After you score well in the PSAT 11th year, you get to compete for a scholarship.
Okay, basically. So the National Merit Scholarship is a scholarship. It's an award. It's a you've done good. Anybody know the dollar value?
A lot.
A lot. Ha! $2,500. It is books and coffee money. Right? So, like, you might not even be able to get books at some colleges with $2,500. So the National Merit Scholarship is really, it's a blue ribbon. It's a you've done good, you did really well on the test. It's only for 11th graders, which is why none of you qualify for it. 10th graders can't qualify for the National Merit Scholarship, and it's only the fall of 11th grade test. And to qualify for it, you have to score in the 99th percentile nationally. Actually, regionally, within New York City, you have to score the 99th percentile. So, and in New York City last year, that number was around the 219. So if you're in the 200s, right? If I'm in the 200s right now on my PSAT, I would be thinking about competing for National Merit, maybe do test prep for the October test for my PSAT, because it's a good award to get. If you look on your National Merit Index, it's still there, right? Shouldn't it be there on the second page? They didn't put them on your reports? Okay, so they didn't put them on your report. The way you calculate it is, you can look up online how to calculate it. Calculate your National Merit Index. If you're close, if you're above a 1,500, I would think about it. And I might prepare for the PSAT because it is a good award. Some colleges will give money beyond National Merit money for getting the National Merit Scholarship. So it's a way to secure money. If I'm not close to it, then I'm not sweating, right? I can get scholarships in other ways, all right? So just have some sense of what that means. But the National Merit is not a huge thing in and of itself.
Is that the same as National Honor Society?
No, totally different thing. National Honor Society, I don't believe comes with automatic money. Okay? All right, so what's your National Merit? Maybe this is an 11th grade report, the 10th grade report didn't have it. They used to have it on the 10th grade report, just put an asterisk next to it. I didn't realize they changed it. All right, so here's how national merit works. 1.5 million people take it. Of those 1.5, 50,000 get recognized because of their high scores. The highest of those, 16,000, will become semifinalists. That's where people start getting money, and then it comes all the way down. So New York City last year, we're talking about a 219 to qualify for that. So again, it's a fairly high score for that, and it's a really competitive thing. All right. The good things from the report. All right. So on the question level page, what's nice about this is when you look at the question level thing. Okay, let's start there. Right? It gives you all the stuff. I can look at question 5, find out that I got it right. It was an easy question. I can go to question 9 and see that this is a reading question. Question 9, the answer was A, my answer was D. I got it wrong. This concerns me less than number 10. Number 10 is an easy question I got wrong. I'm good getting the hard one wrong, not so good getting the easy one wrong. So when you look at your PSAT report, you can find out a lot of stuff about your performance. Everybody with me? And when you go online, this is actually a clickable link. And you can pull up the question that you got right and wrong. Yes, ma'am? Oh, I know what you're talking about. Hold on. Yes, this is codes for categories. Words, so if you look back at the, where was it? So it says words in context on one of these pages. It references these things. Words in context, command of evidence, yada, yada, yada. All right, so you can dig into this and find out all kinds of stuff about how you perform. This is what you want about these online reports. You can go into it and find out in detail where you did well and where you did poorly. If you take the PSAT and only look at the score, you are not doing yourself any favors. Right? The whole point of taking it in 10th grade is to make a plan to do better in 11th grade. Everybody with me? All right? So go forth with these reports, start digging into them, figure out what's good, what's not good, and where you're going to make changes. When I look at stuff like this, I'm looking at this kid whose biggest mistake right away as a test prep dude, I see this kid ran out of time in math. They're doing cool through here, get to number 14, then crash and burn. I'm guessing they guessed randomly. Right? So now I can start to see things about test performance and how this person takes the test, and now I can start fixing that. Right? So the more you can analyze your results, the more you can start to figure out what went well and what went poorly. Okay? All right, so let's jump past some of this. PSAT versus SAT. I'm going to talk a lot about the SAT. This is the last time I'm talking about the PSAT because the PSAT and the SAT are essentially the same thing. Anything that applies to the SAT applies to the PSAT. Right? The only real difference is that the PSAT is slightly shorter. Right? It's slightly shorter, slightly easier. The PSAT 10, which you took, and the PSAT NMSQT are the same test. Right? So everything that you hear about one also applies to the other. So there are a few things about the PSAT you should know, right? That's slightly different score range. It's also attached to some scholarships, the big one being national merit, but there are also a few other scholarships attached to PSAT performance. It's basically the Robin to the SAT's Batman. Right? It's just the sidekick, it's the little one, it's the one that doesn't matter as much. Here's how the scoring works. We sort of touched on that. So the PSAT scale drops back a little bit because it's slightly easier. Okay? But for most of us who's scoring somewhere in here, our PSAT score and our SAT score are really the same thing. Everybody with me? All right. So that's the PSAT. Now your ACT report, which is not an official test, right? That was a test that Prince Review's written and given to you guys so that you have a sense of where your ACT is, right? But every test you take is approximate, right? When you look at your PSAT, your score isn't a fixed score. A 1080 on the PSAT means that the next time you take it, you could get an 1100 with no prep whatsoever, or you can get a 1060. Right? There's about a 30-point swing on every single test score. So just keep in mind, all of these scores are approximate, and only if you do work should you expect big jumps, right? Most people aren't going to see big jumps unless they actually do something to change those results. So ACT, top score is 36, the lowest possible score is 1. In each of these 4 areas, it's 1 to 36 again, and the composite is an average of those 4 areas. Very good? They also give subscores. They give an ELA, which is an average of the English and the writing, the English, the reading, and the writing if you take essay. You guys probably won't have an ELA score because I don't think you had an essay on this test. And then the STEM score is an average of the math and science score. Right? That's how they're calculating those numbers. All right, and again, right, what the reports give you is just basically what the scores look like, how you would do had you taken the test today. This again is like the PSAT page where you can start seeing right, wrong, blank, and your performance question by question. Everybody good? All right, so again, looking at it question by question, you can start figuring out where you are. And here we broke things down into categories. Different types of punctuation, stop punctuation, go punctuation, so you can see where you're weak and where you're strong and how you need to improve. All right? So that's all the things there. So let's talk about SAT versus ACT. All right? What's the difference between SAT and ACT? Not really. They basically test on the same subjects. What's the difference between SAT and ACT? People do like to say the ACT is more for math, science, but that's not really quite true. That's absolutely true. The ACT is definitely faster paced. Right? To me, it's Coke and Pepsi. They're the same thing. Right? Which is better, Coke or Pepsi? Coke. That is the correct answer. Everyone who said Pepsi is wrong. Burger King or McDonald's, which is better? McDonald's. In truth, it's all nasty crap, right? Burger King is hamburgers, McDonald's, so are they Coke, brown, bubbly water, so is Pepsi. Right? ACT and SAT are essentially the same thing, except you might have a preference. I think Pepsi is nasty. Although I do recognize it's really the same thing as Coke. You have to figure out which of the two tests suits your preferences. Colleges don't care which one you send them. Colleges don't want you to send them both. They want you to send them one test that they can work with. So if you get a perfect ACT score, do not take any of these tests again. It is over. Nobody wants to see anything else. They don't need a confirmatory SAT score, right? It's like, again, if you went to Burger King and you were happy with lunch, would there be any reason to go to McDonald's? No. Right. So we're going to think about the differences between these two tests and what they mean to us. All right. So what do we know about SATs and ACTs? Do all colleges prefer one or the other? None. No college prefers either. That's no longer true. It was true 15 years ago. It's not true anymore. Right? They're essentially the same test. Neither is easier. Easier is a personal decision. Right? I actually hate the ACT because it's so fast and it bores me. Right? I like the SAT a bit better. Right? But I actually usually perform better on the ACT. So which test do I take? The ACT. Right? No matter how much I hate it, I get a better score, I'm good. Right? Because that's the test I want. Right? So you have to figure out which test you're doing better on. When you look at them kind of overall, how they stack up, right, a lot of things are the same, right? They both have reading and writing. All of the subjects are essentially the same. The SAT doesn't have a standalone science test, but it does have science embedded in the other stuff, right? The SAT has a few grading questions, which the ACT does not have. But essentially, it's the same thing. The essay for both is optional. Let me qualify that. Should you take the essay or not?
That's on the college.
Thank you. Whose option is it whether you take the essay or not?
Your college.
Wrong. The colleges. If NYU tells you to take the essay, are you taking the essay?
Yes.
Yes, if you want to go to NYU. Right? So it's not really your option. It's the college's option. Right? Now, as of right now, less than 10% of colleges require the essay. Right? But if your college that has been your dream all your life requires the essay, then it doesn't matter what the rest do. So you want to start figuring things out right now to know whether your schools that's been on your list that you've been thinking about will require the essay.
In the event that your child does not know what college they want to go to, can they at a later date take the essay?
You cannot take the essay by itself.
Okay.
So this is where we get into a lot of just-in-case recommendations, which I hate, but I have to tell you, sit for an essay just in case you need it later. Because the alternative sucks worse. Right? If I don't sit for it this time, then next time you have to retake a 4-hour test just to get the essay. So you tend to start doing things just in case.
if you take the essay and you don't do well on it, will it be held against you for a school that does not require the essay?
If they don't require the essay, they basically are telling you we won't look at it. Okay? So no school's gonna. Schools aren't trying to find reason to not admit you. Right? They're generally trying to find reasons to admit students.
If you super score your SAT, then could you super score with the essay, like as a separate part?
You don't super score anything. Colleges choose what they're going to do if you send them multiple test scores. So if you send a college multiple test scores, they will often, with SAT they do it more so than with ACT, but they'll take the best math from one test and the best reading from another test. If they look at essays, some of them will also take the best essay, but that's a college level decision, and not all of them tell us what they do with the essays.
But will the essay affect your SAT score?
The essay isn't counted in that 200 to 800, 400 to 1600 number. It's a separate number. It used to be counted in that, it's no longer. So the essay is a separate score from the multiple choice score for both tests as of right now. Yes, sir?
So if in the scenario that you take the SAT twice, but you only take the essay once, you do better on the one where you didn't take the essay.
So you said you took the SAT twice and the essay once.
Yeah.
Okay?
You keep the score from your better grade on the SAT and then the essay, or is it the essay?
You're in 10th grade, right?
Yeah.
Here's my dream for you. That you take the test once. Don't do it. Don't get yourself caught up in there. Prep for it. Know what you're going to get before you walk in the door. There are 8 SATs that you could download right now for free and take them practice in your home. There is no reason to walk into the SAT not having a really good notion of what your score is going to be. Right? You should know that before you walk in the door. You can download 4 official tests that have been given over the last year and have taken them in a prep course, not in a prep course. You can do it on your own at home and find out your score. So ideally you won't run into that. Right? If you did run into a situation where your multiple choice is better here and the essay there, you just send them both. Colleges are probably going to cobble them together whatever way they want. Right? But that's more on the college side that it's in your control. The piece that is in your control, and being 10th graders, I don't like the shenanigans that y'all are getting into now. How do I manage it so that I can send them and manage all these? No. Get the best score you can. That's the piece you control. Get the best score you can, send them one score and be done with it. Right? And then you're in control of the whole process. Right? So if you prepare, you have tons of time to get ready, you send them one score, it's finished, you know exactly what they're looking at. Right? Let's just run through a couple of the things. Somebody had said ACT is faster. Here's it numerically. Right? Yeah, it's faster. Right? ACT is giving you 52 seconds per question. Right? Now, I'm going to throw this out with a grain of salt. Right? The questions tend to be longer on the SAT as well. So taking back from the extra time, there is sort of longer questions, right? So when you're looking at the test, you're going to have to compare which one works best for you, right? And what you want to figure out is, looking at the test in front of you, which test did you do better on? How do you know which test you do better on? Right? So an ACT of 24, what is that on the SAT? 1190, I heard. Somebody's guessing. Let's see. So there's a lovely thing that exists called a concordance table. If you Google it, you can find it. Right? And so all I have to do is look it up. ACT of 24 is an 1180. Right? Woohoo! So if I have a 24 ACT and 1180 SAT, those are the same number. What if I have a, 1300 SAT and a 22 ACT? Which test do I take? SAT. So right now, you have the tools in front of you to make a preliminary decision about which test am I doing better on right now. If you are doing equally well or fairly close on both tests, then I say go SAT. The reason I say go SAT is because the resources around you are really focused on the SAT. Right? Your school administers the SAT. It does not administer the ACT on Sunday. So guess what? It's easier to just come to school and take the SAT instead of finding a different location. Right? So if I'm about the same on both, my default is SAT just because it's easier in New York City. Alright? But with a concordance table, you can compare your results of the 2 tests and know where you stand. Alright? If you just Google concordance, SAT, ACT, it's pretty easy to find, and just use the link you find on like the College Board website. It's also probably on the Princeton Review's website. You can probably find a concordance table. Alright? Any questions? Alright, so that's a little about how I compare the results. Yes?
Got a 10-point difference between the 2 tests.
So it's the same score. right? 10 points, 20 points, 30 points, that's all about the same to me, right? So I would say your default is SAT, just because it's easier right now, right? Everybody around you knows what a 1300 means. You say you say 27 to somebody, you go, I gotta look at it. So you just go with the test that people in your area know better, right? Just because it's a little easier to deal with.
I just want to ask you something. If they somehow either missed the pre-ACT exam that we administered here, or wish they had taken it a little bit more seriously when they were here, is there some place for them to actually do that? Is it time?
You can yes. So there's two options. One, probably not so good for this school. Princeton Review gives practice pre-ACTs all the time, usually on Saturdays. So yes, right? The second option is you download one, you take it at home. Right? There is a free ACT available on the ACT's website that you can download and take it home. You can also probably just send us an email. I'm sure the college office has Kat's email, and you can email Kat and she can send you one to take at your house and we can score it for you if you don't want to go through scoring it yourself. So, not hard to get one taken for free. Okay. Yes, ma'am?
Can you explain a little more about the subject exams?
The subject exams are a 1-hour test in a variety of subjects ranging from things like languages to, there's Hebrew, which is actually the least popular subject test. I think 194 people took it last year, which is strange. If I was in this room, I'd take the Hebrew. I'm just assuming y'all know the Hebrew well enough to get a score. I don't know if they'll buy it, because if I'm at a college and you at Yeshiva of Flatbush send me your Hebrew score, I don't know. But they're 1-hour tests in a variety of subjects, languages, sciences, math, things of that nature.
And how is it scored?
200 to 800.
200 to 800.
Yes. And it's required or recommended by about 200 of the 4,000 schools in the United States. So ain't a whole, and it's not consistent Ivy. Barnard just said they don't want them. Columbia, I think, just said they don't want them as well. I think that was the change in policy at Columbia this year. There are very few places that actually require them, which is why, unfortunately, it's one of those things that if you have some sense of your list right now, start looking at those requirements. If you don't know your list, and you are thinking fairly selective schools, then you might want to do it just in case.
Being that this is a dual curriculum school, one of the advantages for students to take that, let's just say Hebrew.
I don't know. I don't know. Do you put any stock in Hebrew out of this school?
When you brought up the language exams a little earlier, back in the day, many years ago, we used to say, listen, if you're a native speaker of Spanish or French or Hebrew or whatever, we don't want to see your language test, right? But then we slowly realized that, wait a minute, there can't be a whole lot of merit in that, right? Like if you do speak a language, we can't assume that you can write and read and comprehend the language at a level that will allow you to score well. So if you are scoring well, this means that you've mastered this language. It's not a given for everyone. So now, well,
let me qualify that. You can't just do Hebrew, clearly.
yeah, no.
Right there. But sure.
Somebody who scores well on
If I get an 800, there's no accidental 800, right? Like if I can get an 800, I get a 700, I want to get a 700. So you have to think about which test to take and take the ones that make the most sense. Hold on one second.
Yeah, it's also important to keep in mind that some of the schools, especially programs like engineering programs and BA/MD programs, they will often ask to see SAT2s in areas of science. Like Cooper Union, you have to take chemistry and/or physics and a math. So you really have to figure out what direction you're heading in so you can start doing the proper preparation.
So let me do this so that we, in interest of time, table the subject test. The real answer to the subject test is it's school-specific research, right?
Which we can help you with.
If you're thinking about that, you have to think about the college and what the college wants and do research around the colleges. Some of them require 3 and don't tell you which 3. Some of them require 3 and will tell you which 3 they require. Start doing that research. If you're thinking about highly selective schools and subject tests, now's the time to think about it. If I took chemistry this year, I want to take the subject test in chemistry this year before I forget about it. Okay, hold on.
I also just wanted, for the students who are serious about the science, you're probably taking either AP Chem or AP Physics as a junior. That's the test you should be preparing for. Because when you're taking that course, you could be preparing also for the SAT too at the same time, if you think you're going to need it.
So perspective, we're just going to move a little bit more quickly now. Perspective on tests. 95th percentile on the SAT is a 1420, right? So only 5% of the country gets higher than a 1420 on the SAT. The average score on the SAT is a 1080. ACT, same perspective, 21 and 30, okay? To give you some idea of the numbers. That's not true at every school. At some schools, if you take the ACT, I think Georgetown is, I don't remember now, I forget which one. Georgetown's somewhere on that list. But some schools, they're like, if you take the ACT, no subject test. Other schools, they do both. So again, it's one of those weird school-specific things, which is kind of annoying and requires research. Here's the answer to all the college-level stuff. Talk to the college office. The college office has looked into the schools way more than I have. I get y'all into the test and out of the test and I'm out. Right? So if you get into the college-specific stuff, start planning with the college office. They'll have a lot more information about what you should be doing, especially specifically out of this school. All right, hang on. Other things to keep in mind. What's a good SAT score? Somebody gave you the perfect answer. Who said it? All right, I love it. Not your first child, I imagine. Okay, what's the good score? Depends on what college. What's a good score at Fresno State University?
21.
No, wrong. That is very wrong. 21, a 1,000 is a great score or a pretty good score at Fresno. At Columbia, is 1,000 on the SAT any good? No. So the good score is entirely relative to the college you're applying to. Right? So that's what you should be thinking about, starting to get a sense of what the colleges are. Now, all of these are estimates because SAT averages, when they change the test, haven't been released for the new year yet. So this is all concordant based on the old scores. You can Google almost all of it. Almost everything is Googleable. Assume it's all Googleable. So the total score is what you're looking at. Okay. Right. So a couple of things I want to point out about the SAT versus ACT. Differences again. Same topics tested, different distribution, right? In the math specifically, right? So if you love geometry, SAT may not be the test for you. There's almost no geometry. All the geometry left the SAT and went into the extra section, right? So it's less than 10% there. So figuring out which test is best for you, you have to use really the results in front of you. I'm going to jump past some of this. So both of them have science. Here's science. It's not real science. It's baby science. It's fake science. To answer this question, which is ACT science, right? What did the ACT really ask you to do in science? It kind of reading comprehension from what? Charts. So charts and graphs. So science on these tests is charts and graphs. You are all doing more science if you did AP, chemistry, or whatever she just said. Y'all are all doing more science than these tests will ever require. And I can get all the science questions right on these tests, and I haven't taken science since 10th grade in 1987. All right, so it's not real science. It's a question of managing charts and graphs in a really constrained time environment, especially on the ACT, right? So you got to figure it out. SAT is kind of the same, but they embed it. This is actually a writing question that uses a chart to create that science score, right? So it's a lot about managing charts and graphs and understanding charts and graphs. And that's a reading, science questions, et cetera, et cetera. We're going to jump past this. The essay on either test, right? They're different essays. They feel different. What you care about is it required? And if you're not sure, you probably should default into taking the essay. Here are some schools' policies on essay, right? So Stanford says that they require it, right? Whereas University of Chicago, which is a really good school, right, has no policy whatsoever on the essay. They haven't taken a stand. They haven't said whether they want it or not. They neither require it nor recommend it, right? And a school that recommends it, what does that mean? That means you do it, right? So required and recommends are things that I look at, right? But if they have neither require or recommend policy, it might be they just haven't formulated a policy or they don't care. CUNY doesn't care about the essay. They won't actually even look at it. All right, so when you're thinking about where you're applying, you want to get a sense of what they do with the tests that you send. Subject tests, right? So yes, they may replace ACT. About 2% of colleges have any policy whatsoever, so you got to figure out what that means for you. And then let me jump past some of this. I guess it's important to pay attention, but we already hit on some of this, right? This is from a NACAC survey, what schools care about. It kind of made me laugh. It was like, yeah, grades are most important, but we sort of care about all of it, right? The schools say like all of these things are going to play a role in your admissions. And a quick dirty of what standardized tests are, right? Who are you inviting over for dinner? Right? Make your call. Standardized tests often act like that. Your GPA often act like this. I'm sure you've all made a decision who you'd invite over to your house. Right? That's what your test scores often will do. Don't let them put you in the wrong position. Right? Your job is to make sure your test scores don't make you look bad. Right? It doesn't mean it's insurmountable, but we feel really different about a 33 than we do about a 16. Right? And you want to make sure that they present you in the best light possible. Right? You have to make sure that your test scores aren't doing damage to your application. Right? They're probably not going to get you in. Right? But it can create a bad first impression. Right? And you don't want to do that. Same thing with your GPA. Right? So start doing your research. I like websites that give ranges, not numbers. College Board's Big Future gives ranges, so Big Future's a great place for research. Prince Review's site gives ranges. For stuff like you can see where the numbers are. I like when they break it down. You can see this was from College Board last year. They don't do it anymore because of the new test, but they'll often break down how not just what the average score is, but the percentages of people that got into each range, which gives you a better picture of what it looks like. So no 300s got in, but some 400s got in at this school, which I don't remember what school it is, but it was a pretty competitive place. Right? So even though most people have 5s and 6s, right, 400s can get in. So once you start looking at more robust data, it gives you a better picture of what it looks like. All right? And I think this is Yeshiva University, if I'm not mistaken. With the GPA, they break it down as well. All right? So you can start looking at kind of where those things shake out. Right? Somebody got in with a 1.0. I don't know his name, and I don't know how much money he donated. Right? But he got in with a 1.0. Right? So it gives you some sense of what's going on here. And I'm going to jump past some of this. Oh no, this is way too fun. We can't just have it. All right. A 3.75? That's almost a 4? Because most GPAs are scored 0 to 4. Right? What do you mean? Oh, like 8, I guess?
Yeah, we do.
95? Okay, 95. I don't remember those things. So, standardized tests, right? And overall, thinking about preparing for the test. What you should be thinking about is putting yourself in the right frame of mind and understanding how the test works. It's often contrary to what you learned in school. Did this kid get this question right or wrong? Right. Did he get any credit for it in class? No. No. So you go through school and you're learning how to answer questions a particular way. Right? This kid get the question right or wrong?
The right answer. You got it right.
Okay. Did he get it right? And he did get it right. Did he get credit?
No.
No. So first grade you get no credit. So you start to change the way you answer questions. Right? This kid get the question right or wrong?
You got it right.
So one of the weird things about standardized tests is that they're given out of context. Right? This kid was taking this class in context. In history class, we know we're not asking for physical location. Right? In history class, there's a context to that questioning which standardized tests can't assume. So the way that the questions are structured are different. They're structured to force particular answers, right? To sort of deal with that. Did this person get the question right or wrong? No matter how you slice it, he got it wrong, right? And this is kind of what standardized tests do to you. They take what you've learned. If you learn to do multiplication like this, you can probably handle this, right? What happens when I give you this? Some of us can handle it, some of us start getting a little bit more intimidated. What about when I give you that? This is what standardized tests often do. They take things you've learned and they sometimes apply them in ways that you haven't seen before. Right? They sometimes ask you to think in ways that you haven't seen before. To make sure the guy can't answer, there it is for X, I might need more words. Right? I might need to frame it in a way that you're not used to. SAT will never say find X. It will say calculate the value of X, find the value of X. And if you're weirded out, like, why are you saying value? No one's ever said value. Now you're getting weirded out by the structure of the test. So getting used to how these tests are presented is really important to doing your best. Right? So you want to make sure that you're preparing yourself for the way the tests are designed and what that means to you. Right? So that means coaching. Good coach? Not so good coach. Although the pedigree when they were hired, right, is really similar. So you have to figure out how you're going to prepare yourself for the test. A coach helps, right, but it's not absolutely necessary. So I'm not saying y'all have to do test prep. You have to do something. Practice tests are a wonderful thing. There are lots of practice tests you can download from the College Board or from ACT. ACT doesn't actually have lots. ACT is annoying. They actually have 2 real tests that you can get from ACT. College Board has 8. So it's a little bit easier to prepare for the SAT because there's more easily accessible materials available, right? And then you have to figure out how you put it all together, right? Most people go into the test, there are 58 math questions on the SAT, they go through, they do all the tests. That would seem to make sense. If I put 58 questions in front of you, how many people tried to finish the PSAT? Yeah, most of you did, it's logical, right? But what happens is they get some right and some wrong. You get half of them right, you get about a 32, that's a 550 math score, right? First thing I do with every student I work with is I slow them down. Don't do 58, do 48. If we slow you down, what should happen? Get more right, no stupid mistakes, right? So we take that 32, we bring it up to a 38. Now what about the other questions that you haven't read yet?
They don't count.
You don't lose points, so what do? You guess. You will fill in every single question on this test, or I will come to your house, drag you out to the street, and beat you. Alright? Every single question gets filled in, whether you've read it or not. So you guess on the rest of the questions, 12 guesses, let's say you get 3 of them right. Now your score has gone from a 38 to a 41. Now you get a bunch more points simply from approaching the test more appropriately. Right? So figure out all of that pacing stuff, all of that is really important to doing well on the test. Does that make sense? Right. A little bit of perspective on that. I'm going to jump past this and think about planning, right? You should start thinking about what test you're going to take, when it's going to happen. Usually juniors should be taking a spring test of some sort, right? So probably a spring SAT if you're going to deal with the SAT as your focus. I like juniors to take that March test, right? So you could prep for that March test and then take it and then come back and maybe do the August test as your second test, right? So then now you roll into the fall and you're done. If you really, really want to do the ACT as well, then I can say in the fall, maybe I'll give the ACT a try to just see if it works out better. So ideally, a junior, and you guys have time, right, would start in the fall of the junior year to prep for one of those early spring tests. And that gives you plenty of time to take 2, maybe 3 tests before college starts. Right? And if that SAT is good enough, maybe you're just done. And you don't have to worry about the ACT. Or you can flip it and do the same thing for the ACT. Right? So you should start thinking about and planning all of that out. Because if you happen to throw subject test in the mix, you can't take the subject test and the SAT on the same day.
The colleges know how many times to take the test.
If you send them all you can choose which ones you send them. But choosing them is weird, it costs you money, blah, blah, blah. After you take the test, so when you sign up for the test, you can choose 4 colleges to send your scores to. If you don't use those 4, by 9 days after the test, you lose them. It costs you $12 per college. So you're giving away $50 by not using your 4 free sets. So if I take it as a junior, and I don't know what schools I want to apply to, then I'm giving up $48. If I want to wait and see my August scores, then I have to wait and not use 8 reports, and then send my scores when they come back, and that's going to cost me money. So it takes planning, and it may cost you money, but yes, you can reserve those scores. Generally speaking, colleges will do something in your favor. So generally speaking, I would send the scores, right? Especially if money's a concern.
So they don't hold it against you, you can take it 3
Most schools are super scoring. They're not going to hold it against you. They're trying to get you in. If they like you, they're not going to look like, oh, look, he has a 500 and a 600. Oh, that 500 is terrible. Let's kick him out. No, they're like, he has a 600. Right? Let's live in the 600 and keep rolling. Right? They're not going to sweat that you had a slightly lower score.
If they're super strong, then it's beneficial for you to take it.
Correct. Whatever they do, they will do something in your favor. Some colleges have been known to average. That still works out better than your lowest. Right? No matter what they do, it'll work out in your favor in some way.
If they average, then it's better for you to not score.
Correct. Right? But you don't know what they're doing. You don't, that's not something that you really want to do. Spend a whole lot of time trying to figure out the policies of every college office to play the game. Right? Your part of the game is get the best possible score. Right? You get the best possible score you can get, you're good. Right? Test dates, add an extra day to each of these, but you can also get them online. Prince Review has courses and online stuff, yada, yada, yada. I work with Prince Review, look, marketing. And then do some research. Right? Let me throw up this last thing and then call it a day. There's money. Merit awards. Merit awards means money for grades and scores. Different schools have money, right? Like, and this is important to look at in terms of when do I stop taking the SAT? If I have a 1370 and I'm planning to apply to Santa Clara, right? I really want to know that they have merit money kicking in at 1380. Because if I have a 1370, I better take that test again. Right? I'm getting that 1380 and give me some $17,000, $18,000. Woohoo! So do your research, check out the merit awards. All right, let's call it a day. The scholarships. Sign up for scholarship search sites. There's all kinds of scholarships. All of these are scholarships. The asparagus industry has a scholarship. 8,000. Like, why is there an asparagus club with a scholarship? But they got a scholarship. The Klingon scholarship for studying languages. $500 for the Klingon scholarship. Right? Look up scholarships. The duct tape scholarship. $25,000 for wearing duct tape to prom. Woohoo! Right? Those are some scholarship search sites. Free. Don't pay for scholarship searches. Free scholarship search sites. Sign up for searches. Look for them. I actually did a search. I don't have it up here, but at some point I did a search for scholarships for Jewish kids. There are a ton of them. Just Google yourself. You want all the scholarships that are available because you're alive. Left-handed blonde girl from Brooklyn scholarship. That's the one that you want, right? I want all the black dudes 6 feet tall with glasses scholarships, right? So start looking for all of those.
To be eligible for those scholarships, normally you have to write essays and do all the kinds of things. It's not just throwing the money at it.
That's not quite true. So different scholarships have different requirements. Some of them are essays, some of them are. Kentucky Fried Chicken had a $5,000 scholarship for the best tweet. 140 characters to win $5,000. I'm in. Right? I will be sending a whole heck of a lot of tweets. Right? So start looking into all, like the criteria vary. Duct tape. Make an outfit out of duct tape and wear it to prom. And you can win $25,000. That's no essay, that's no academics, that's like you just gotta be cool with duct tape. Right? So there are lots of scholarships with lots of random criteria. Start doing your research. Questions for either of us? Yes, ma'am.
What's the likelihood of students doing better the second time they take the SAT?
What's the likelihood of doing better if you study for an algebra test? It's really the same.